And welcome back to the show. The Gathering for Justice is a not-for-profit organization that's aiming to end incarceration and eliminate the racial inequities permeating the justice system. Now, in honor of the 95th anniversary, I should say the birthday of the organization's founder, Harry Belafonte, a single was released, I Believe, and the words featured were the words of Mr. Belafonte during the organization's first founding in 2005. Joining us now and sharing us a little bit more about the exciting single and her voice on it, we're pleased to have Keris Love. And Keris, good to have you.
It's good to be back.
Good to be back. We haven't seen you in a minute, but glad to have you back with us and sharing. And so this single obviously is a celebration of Mr. Belafonte's 95th birthday and some of the work that he actually did from the beginning. So walk us through why you decided to do the single.
Well, Carmen Perez Jordan, who is the ED, CEO of the Gathering for Justice, and Mr. B's mentee and my mentor, she gathered myself, my son, Jackie Cruz, and FIFA together and asked us to, we need a song for our current movement. It was really important for the Gathering to have, to integrate the arts, because Mr. B always talks about artists, artists are the gatekeepers. Artists have to use their platform to speak on what's happening in the movement. And so the art piece of why we do what we do, why we march and rally and organize to change policy is really important. And so Carmen was like, listen, we need our movement, and the civil rights, they have freedom songs and songs that they chanted as they marched. And we needed the same thing right now, currently, so that it could uplift us while we're out in the streets, while we're organizing, while we're lobbying, and all of the things. She got us together. When Carmen asks for something, she usually gets it.
Yeah. So you guys get together, you make the song, and tell us about Mr. B's reaction when he first heard the single.
I mean, that was definitely, everyone's heart was like waiting to see what Mr. B would say, because of course we needed his blessing. And his reaction is, it just lives rent-free in my mind. Just watching him, looking at the tablet and listening to it and bopping to the beat and then swaying. And then it was just the most beautiful thing ever. And he looks up and he goes, "This is beautiful." And it just made it all come together. And it was very intentional to have his voice in the beginning and Carmen's voice at the end, because this is an intergenerational movement. And that is something that they both talk about. I'm standing on the shoulders of my Nana, who was a freedom fighter and a former Black Panther. We are all standing on the shoulders of our elders. We're not doing this, in these silos, and our elders leave us breadcrumbs. That's what Mr. B says. So it was really intentional to start it off with his voice and end it with Carmen's.
So as you take the work that you're doing right now and moving it forward, talk about the initiatives that you're really speaking to and really are organizing it on the front line right now for, because Mr. Belafonte definitely gave you a firm foundation in which to launch off of, but now the work continues and you're the front line, your boots on the ground. Where are you, what's the focus of your energy right now?
I mean, the focus, and again, the pandemic has shed light on the inequities in our communities. The focus is always going to be liberation for Black and Brown folks. The focus is always going to be to ending mass incarceration. Mass incarceration is a manufactured ecosystem. The 13th Amendment says that slavery is legal under, mass incarceration is legal under, that's the way we can keep slavery going. We need to start using those terms in those ways. And so the fight is still over policing, but the fight is also economic. And so we can't talk about safety and crime without talking about poverty. And the pandemic just increased that. We have to talk about stagnant wages. We have to talk about why women still make less than white men and why Black people, and the wealth gap. The wealth gap didn't happen overnight. The wealth gap didn't happen because of personal responsibilities. These are structural things that created this wealth gap where the white family has X amount of dollars and the Black family has, I think it's like federally like $17,000, and the white family has like something towards like $100 and something thousand. Like that wealth gap is really what we're talking about. And so we're still fighting for that. We're still fighting for voting rights, which is pretty ridiculous, because we just celebrated the anniversary of when our elders marched across the bridge in Selma, and a lot of our folks were there. And it dawned on some of us that we're marching with the same demands, because the system continues to move the goalposts. So we win a bunch of things in the civil rights, and then policy and legislation comes up that are oppressive and then knocks us back. And so we're still carrying these same pieces of legislation and policy. And really what it is people just want to be able to take care of their families. We don't want to be over policed. We don't want to have to live paycheck to payday. And so that's where we are, and that's what we're going to continue to fight for.
And as we talked from the beginning, you know, your work is really the off of the shoulders of really Mr. Belafonte and the work that he's done as a social activist down through the years. What advice has he imparted into you into keeping the fight alive and how to really achieve these results via activism?
Well, one thing he says is that every generation is responsible for their own revolution. And I love that, because they left us some blueprints, but we are responsible for taking the baton as far as we can, right? And so even after the release of this, after Mr. Belafonte heard the song, one of the things that he turned to me and said, you have to continue to use your art as a way to tell the story of what's happening on the ground with our people. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to continue. The Gathering is not done putting out music. We're not done putting out, we're going to be getting into film and all the things. We're not done because we have to tell our story. And so part of my job is to use my artivism, as Carmen would say, as to tell our story and to tell the truth. We know that fear-mongering is big, especially when you're talking about community safety. They're out there telling us that it's because of bail and it's because of all these things. And we're not looking at the fact that poverty is at the root of a lot of these issues and how poverty is manufactured here in this country. So I'll use my art to keep telling those stories.
We're going to use your art, and we're going to use this song to know more about what is going on in the world of social justice and really making a difference. Keris Love, thank you so much for being with us and sharing here on Open. Again, before we go real quick, how can people find out about the single? Where can they go?
It's streaming everywhere. It's on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, YouTube. I mean, you can add it. You can, on TikTok, you can add it to the background of your videos. I mean, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. You can just, if you're searching by artists, you can search by Gathering for Justice, and it'll come up, I believe. But even if you search the individual artists that are on there, like myself, Keris, if you type in Keris, if you type in my song, type in Jackie Cruz, our song comes up.
All right. Keris, got to leave it there, but thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations on the single and much success. Thanks so much, Keris Love.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, we want to let our viewers know that if you want to find out more information, we encourage you to go visit their website, gatheringforjustice.org. And of course, visit them on social media. How can you do that? Well, you follow them on social media at Gather for Justice. We've got more Open coming up. Don't go anywhere. We return right after this.